Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Narc Free Formula. My name's Freedom. Thank you for joining me. In tonight's episode, I want to talk about and to the women who say, but I'm still in love with the narcissist. But before I speak on that matter, can I just ask you, if you like my videos, please remember to like them, subscribe to the channel, and also help me grow the channel by sharing on other social media platforms. All right, so let's get into this. Sometimes, despite it all, sometimes we still have feelings towards the narcissist. And the thing is, look, breakups are confusing and hard enough, at the best of times. When you've been involved with a narcissist, psychopath, or sociopath, the confusion factor has just gone, through the roof. And often, survivors get left with, these kind of conflicting emotions. There's a lot of anger and confusion and frustration and, you know, mistrust, and it's just a whole lot of kind of negative emotions. And then sometimes they also still get left with feelings of love, or emotions towards the narcissist that they can't help but feel. So let's talk about this and what you can do when you find yourself in that particular predicament. All right, so sometimes despite all, we have feelings for the narcissist and we experience loss and longing. So physically, despite knowing about narcissism, we still feel attracted sexually or keep replaying little, home movie loops in our mind. And we remember things like, their smell, their hands, or their kiss. Maybe it's just the good times, because despite all the hurt, manipulation, lies, and control, there was also good times. There was fun times, family times, intimate times, times where there was, so much laughter that we nearly wet ourselves, really good times. And there were other times where things felt so right that you thought you'd be there forever. I know for me personally, one of the things that when I first ended my situationship, one of the things that I had a really hard time coming to terms with was the way I used to feel. So when I was in the relationship, regardless of what had happened in our day, we had this thing where, of a night time, we'd always end up, either making love or snuggling up or whatever. And it just always felt like we were really connected and everything was, well in my world. As I said, and that's regardless of what had happened in the day. We could have been fighting all day long. And that was kind of my favorite place to be for years, literally years. And then to kind of come out of the relationship and to realize that so much of what I thought we had, was a facade, a fake and a love con. I mean, that was really, really hard to kind of come to terms with. And I think we all go through, some kind of variation of grief and sadness and, like I said, confusion and these lingering feelings. It's almost embarrassing for some people. Like I hear some of the women talking and they say, when they talk about it, they're almost ashamed of the fact they still have these feelings. But I think that in actual fact, regardless of the fact that, he is a narcissist, he's an abuser, he's a cheater, a liar, a con artist, despite all those things, if you're a normal human being and you've had a connection and a bond with someone, that's not something that you kind of just get over or you just forget about, kind of overnight. So I think it's showing that, that we are the healthy ones in the relationship. Unlike the narcissist, we don't just, pick up with someone else or, act like, they don't exist. But look, so for those of you who are struggling with feelings, I just want to remind you of one thing. And that is that, feelings are temporary. So when you were making these kind of memories, the memories that you're now replaying and longing and pining for, those feelings that you were having then, you've got to remember, you probably wouldn't have had that feeling had you known what was actually going on, had you known you were involved with a narcissist, had you known it was a love con and that you were being taken advantage of and that you were being lied to and that there was probably other women that you didn't know about, and different, supply that you had no idea about, so I, for sure, would not have felt, like, this is this is the only place that I ever want to be. Like, I would have never felt that way had I known what was going on right under my nose, but I didn't know. And, the vast majority of us just did not know what was going on until it was too late, until, after the event, after it all went down. So, so what we need to do now is when we start having these little rose-tinted glasses kind of moments, and looking back fondly and reminiscing, I think what we need to do is we need to stop. That's the first thing. We need to literally stop, okay? Stop yourself. So actually say the word stop in your mind. Say the word stop. And then we need to reframe the narrative. So reframe the story, because we didn't know then what we know now. So with the knowledge that you now have, now you can actually rewrite those stories. So when you start reminiscing about, oh, how it was so romantic that day, remind yourself that, that he's a narcissist and that he probably came straight from trying to chat up some woman and brought all that energy home to you. And that's why you end up having such great sex that night. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is actually real, but we just didn't know it at the time. We had no idea why he was in such a good mood when he came home, or, why he'd gone out in a bad mood and then he came back so loving towards us, and we had no idea. But in actual fact, it was probably things like he left because he went to go see the new supply and things didn't work out. So he realized that he had to come back and get us back on the hook again. And I mean, when you start thinking about just how manipulative these blokes are, it's really hard to keep that illusion going. I mean, that's the thing. We were fed an illusion, quite literally. They had us believing something that just wasn't real. And now we are trying to recover from that. So we're going through this cognitive dissonance, where our brain's like, oh, that's right, that wasn't real. And now I have to remind myself that this is what actually happened. So it's a process that you go through, but you have to stop yourself, because the mind likes to go off in these little daydreams. And like I said, especially when, like I said, replaying the good bits and the home movies and that kind of stuff, you can't think about him like that. All it will do is slow down your healing, and it will make you vulnerable to a Hoover. If you have that kind of if you keep that illusion alive. So let's face facts. He wasn't that man that he pretended to be. He never was that man he pretended to be, and he's never going to be that man, because that was just a character that he played to get what he wanted from you. So one of the little things that I have been doing, I don't know if you guys saw the video that I did just recently about cutting soul ties. So I did a video about it just because I was still experiencing this kind of soul tie connection. Things like, still being able to feel him around, like when he's been stalking my Facebook or that kind of thing. I can feel it, and then I can check up and find out that yes, he has been. So it's kind of confirmed to me. that these feelings that I have are genuine. You know, you can't spend such a long time, like in my particular instance, you know, over a decade. You can't spend, you know, such a long time with someone, being, you know, totally intertwined with them on every level, and then you know, separate and kind of not still have some connection. So I did a video about cutting soul ties, and I'll put the link in here. And so what I have been doing is doing a little kind of visualization technique. And it's so what I do is, whenever I have any kind of thoughts, you know, just creeping in, any thoughts at all that are to do with him, our life together, any thoughts about what he's doing now, or any feelings, like even if when I get a feeling that he, like I said, that he's thinking about me, or you know, he's raging. Like I can feel when he's raging and when he's angry, and you know, I can still feel that stuff. So when I start to feel it now, I do that pattern interrupt thing. No, stop. That's my thing. I say stop, and then I say to myself, not my problem, not my responsibility, not my circus, not my fault. You know, and I just say that. And by the time I finish kind of going through that little mantra in my mind, I've totally shifted my energy. And it's quite a clear signal that I've put out into the universe. Not my responsibility, not my problem, not my circus, not my fault. Nothing, not mine at all. So for me, sorry, and the little final little bit of that is, I actually visualize like when a hairdresser cuts a curl of hair and you see the snip and the hair just kind of flutter to the ground. For some reason, I don't know why, that was the image that that kind of stuck in my mind when I was visualizing cutting soul ties. So this hair tie, this hair image, it, you know, whatever, it works for me. That might not be your thing. The one thing I do know about, you know, this kind of stuff is that it's very personal. Go with what feels right for you, and what, you know, what you visualize, you know, that's great for you. What I visualize is this hair cutting curl, you know, this curl thing dropping to the floor. And as I said, between that and the affirmations and the pattern interrupt, like I said, that whole slapping of the hands and saying the word stop, right, that actually jolts my brain. And that's what you want to do, because for such a long time, your brain, like I said, the brain synapses, you know, this this information and these patterns have just been continually entrenched over and over and over. You know, you've thought about him. Every time he thought about you, you know, and demanded something of you, you've given it to him. You know, there's that kind of connection that you guys have had. And so you need to stop that. So when you think about him, you do it, stop. And when you feel him thinking about you, or you feel, you know, you sense something, same thing, just stop, and then say whatever your little affirmation is. Like I said, for me, it's, yeah, not my problem, not my responsibility, not my circus, and not my fault. And you can probably come up with a whole lot of not my's, but those are just the ones that for some reason I kind of said one day off the top of my head, and it seems to work for me. So, darlings, find little tips and tricks that work for you, because, like I said, these feelings that you have, they will pass, you know, over time, but you can actually speed up your own growth. And by doing this pattern interrupt, like I said, when you're having the thoughts and then you deliberately and consciously stop yourself and change the direction of your thoughts, that is probably one of the most powerful neuralistic, is that the word I'm looking for? I'm getting a little bit tired. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. But that's probably one of the most powerful kind of, you know, little brain tricks that you can do to stop your thinking and to change the direction of it. And hopefully over time, you know, you won't think about him. And if and when you do, it's certainly not going to be in these kind of romantic, longing, you know, missing him kind of terms. And I know it works. Look, I got to tell you, I know it works. I've been out now for 2 years, okay? I have had people around me that have had the same amount of time out and less amount of time out. And I have been watching us and our recovery and how we're all kind of trekking along. And it's quite powerful and rewarding to see that we are all doing so well because we're all sticking to these kind of basic principles, of no contact. And like I said, this trying to heal ourselves. We're not sitting around going, oh, why me? Or what happened? Why doesn't he love me anymore? We're not doing any of that. We realize that this is a serious personality disorder. These people are really, really toxic. They're maladaptive, they're toxic. You don't want to be around them. And, the fact that you spent, any time with them at all is a tragedy. And the sooner you kind of get over that, the better. So don't be, longing for it back again. And there's that old thing, the be careful what you wish for. God, no. All right, darlings. Thank you for watching. And, get yourselves narc free, lovelies. Thanks for watching. Good night.